Hi there, welcome to the halftime huddle. It's I'm excited to come again to bring you this after a little bit of a break. Um, I will introduce who's coming a little bit later on, but just for those who stumbled across this without knowing where the hell we are and what you're doing, and you're just doom scrolling through social media, then this is the halftime huddle. We meet every Wednesday. Well, every Wednesday is a bit of a thing. We try and meet every Wednesday halftime huddle through a hump day to just spend a bit of time just focusing on helping sort of those when you're in the middle of the week. You start off all with all good intentions, and you hit the hump day, and all of a sudden you think, what the hell's going on? So this is a little bit of an opportunity to spend some time with that. As you can hear, I haven't got into that. We've got coughing in the background, so I will introduce who we've got to come to talk to you. A guest of mine. We met last year in Tube Fest in Birmingham, and we bonded over a surname. There are a lot of Webbs around, but I don't meet too many that aren't relatives. So it was always intriguing. So I met Amanda Webb at Tube Fest. And I'm happy to bring her on to have a chat with you and discuss sort of a little bit of how she's going, what she's doing, and we can ask questions as we go along. So, without sort of dithering too much, just say hi, Amanda.
Hello, hello.
Uh,
Yes, it was me coughing in the background. I'll probably cough a bit more as well.
that's coughing at
Thanks for
all.
having me.
It's good to talk to you. And like I said, it was one of those intriguing. Whoa, you've got the same name as me. Same surname as me. Don't see
I
many
think there was
webs.
someone else. There was someone else as well that had a web, I feel. There were three of us.
Well, I can't
I don't
remember.
remember who else.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, trying to remember. Like I said, Webb's a fairly common name, but I don't meet any of them that aren't relatives. We've got a big family anyhow. But so it was. Oh, you got my surname,
Yes.
A Webb. So there you go. You're right at the top of the webs.
The queen of.
A queen of webs. Yes. So yeah, no, it's lovely to talk to you. For those of you those who haven't seen your wonderful videos and your or your social media across both the socials, I'd love to sort of hear a little bit about what you are, who you are, what you do, your origin story, why you do what you do, which is often intriguing. It's the story with behind the story. So so let me know sort of why do you do what you do, and how did you get to where you are, Amanda?
Why do I do what I do? Maybe we'll start with how I got here because I used to I moved to Ireland 30 years ago, and I moved so that I could work in the Irish film industry, which was thriving at the time. I just finished college and I desperately wanted to be a film director. That was my dream. So I got into as an assistant director working in films in Ireland for 10 years. Now, an assistant director sounds like that's the path to becoming a director, doesn't it? But I knew from the beginning it wasn't. It's actually an admin role, essentially. You're getting everything set up, getting everyone to the set, getting everything sorted so that when the cameras roll, everything is there in place on time. And then your job is to make sure that the whole film happens on time, which sadly means that you lose your passion for the wonder of film. You know, it's all about, you just want things to happen fast. You don't care about the art anymore. So after 10 years, it took me 10 years to realize this wasn't going to be my thing. I decided, oh, you know what? I'll start my own business. So I started a business selling corporate gifts, and it was fun starting the business. I really enjoyed the marketing. Social media started popping up. But the problem I had at the beginning was I spent a big budget on a website, an e-commerce website. There weren't many of those around at the time. And we realized after about a week or so, my web developer rang me and said, we got a problem because Google and other search engines aren't finding your website, even if we type in the name of your business. And that was really the start of me understanding digital marketing. There was no real social media at the time. There was Bebo and MySpace, but not what we consider social media these days. There were internet forums. There was SEO, because Google wasn't what it is now, but you could still use SEO to appear in search results. So I started learning that stuff so that I could promote that business. Then Facebook became a thing. I mean, people had been on it for a while already, but Facebook pages for businesses popped up, and I was one of the first people I knew to have a Facebook page. So I set up a Facebook page for the business. Instantly, almost literally the day that I started that Facebook page, I made a sale via it. So I was like, this is it now. I love social media. So I joined all the rest. I joined Twitter. I joined LinkedIn. When I say all the rest, that's pretty much what it was at the time. And I started using them to market my business, to get to know people, to build relationships. And then the global recession came along. That's how long ago this was. 20 years, I believe, 21 years this year. The global recession came along, and people couldn't buy corporate gifts anymore. So I was a bit stuck, really, because it would be crass to buy a corporate gift when, you know, if you're a bank, you know, you're denying people mortgages, or you're reclaiming their homes. You can't really be giving corporate gifts. So I had a look around at what I could do, and I was actually talking to my sister-in-law, and she was like, well, you know what, you've got this social media thing sorted. Why don't you start a business helping people with that? So that was my first stage. Back then, all I knew nothing about marketing, just what I'd done myself, but I did know how social media worked. And instantly, I set up my business for 20 euros. I bought a domain name, I built my own website, and I bought a Skype in number so that I had the basics of what I needed. And immediately I started making sales. I made sales from people who'd been following me and wanted to do something similar with their business. I was very noisy on social media. So there was a big corporate that got in touch with me saying, look, we need somebody to help us with this. We're not very good at this. So instantly it became a money-making business, which was wonderful. And I didn't have to do all the horrible things that I hated about corporate gifts, like packing hampers, you know, on a cold winter's day so that I could bring them out to whichever client had decided to buy them, or driving them out somewhere. And the sales, I really hated the sales part of it, driving around, showing people what I had and trying to sell it to them. So all of that was gone, and I was able to really focus on this new business. But you know, that's when I started getting interested in marketing in general and started upskilling. So I did courses. I picked up everything I could online. I went to conferences. I kept upskilling, and I've gone through so many different iterations of digital marketing at this stage. I did the social media. I did blogging. That was a big thing. I ran the Blog Awards in Ireland for 3 years, along with 2 colleagues. I got into live streaming. So I was a live streaming person. I was always a bit of a Facebook person. People would come to me for Facebook help. I did Facebook ads. I was kind of like an all-rounder digital marketer. And that meant that it was harder to get clients. I did stand out still because I was an OG. I was using all those channels before other people were. But it was coming harder and harder to stand out in the marketplace. So I knew I needed to niche. And I'm going to cough for a moment now, so you might come on, Mark.
we'll leave you to cough in the corner. Don't worry. It sounds to me like you've had a really long checkered journey into to what you're doing now, and you've still, from what I gather, to get to where you are now. So so where do we get to? Yeah, indeed.
Yes. So I decided I needed to niche. This was just after the pandemic, and I started working with some coaches, Andrew and Pete, actually, who we were discussing ahead of this call.
Yes, yeah.
I worked with them on their coaching program, and really the first session, they helped me work out the direction I needed to go, where I needed to niche. And it was something I was passionate about already. And there's a whole story behind why I was passionate about that as well, which was Google Analytics, essentially helping people understand if their marketing was working. And that's what I've been doing since 2021, pretty much exclusively.
Good. So I'll let you cough. It's okay. So it's been an interesting sort of transition across. It's lovely. One of the things I love about doing this kind of stuff is hearing people's journey, the journey that people make from often a weird tangent, and they go off on a strange journey to and all of a sudden they're nowhere where they first started, and the idea that you started over in Ireland as an assistant director, which sounds like it was more like an assistant to the director, which is probably what they're trying to hide from you when you first started. And it's a shame. It's a shame that kind of thing sort of takes the shine out of something you have a passion for. Even though I can see through some of the videos you do, you've still got that love of performing and creating and video as well. So it's never really. It doesn't seem like it's gone too far.
Yeah, I still love films. The thing is, I love what I have time to watch them now, and I love watching films. So I still watch, 150, 200 films a year. So it's like it's still a passion of mine, and it's no longer getting stripped out by the reality of what it means to make them.
No, indeed, which is good. Well, like I say, it's you can never really get rid of your inner passion in that respect. And it sounds like you've all, like I said, your journey through to where you are now. Don't worry about coughing. If you're coughing, you're coughing. We had this conversation beforehand. She's got a cold, which is one of the things about doing a virtual is we're not in the same room, so if you've got a cold, I don't get it. But often at the end of it, it's the cough that's the worst bit. So I'm sorry. So take a breath.
I was half. Will I do this? No, I'll be fine for an hour, and 10 minutes in, I'm coughing already. So right. I'm good.
Don't worry. But I what I've I'm seeing from the conversation you were having is that you've got a breadth of understanding that you can bring, and you can help and support and I know your passion for the analytics at the end, and often that is one of the challenges that people face when they start to market their businesses is they know they've got to do this, they know they've got to write a blog, they want to go on social media, they want to create a website, they want to do all of the things, all of the shiny things, but at the end of it they have no idea which one's working and which one isn't.
Absolutely. And I think that's where kind of my analytics thing came from, because I was always interested in analytics. I was always looking at analytics, but very often I was focusing on the wrong thing. So when I was doing a lot of blogging, one of my big things was I want to get as much traffic as I can to my blog. So I was really focusing on that number and my domain authority. And that meant I was doing everything. I was blogging 3 times a week, podcasting, live streaming, creating videos for YouTube, doing all the different social channels, still finding time for clients. And I was putting all that work in. So obviously the numbers were growing. I was getting more people to my website. My domain authority was going up. But you know what wasn't happening? I wasn't getting more clients. So no sleep, no relationships, no friendships. I was horrible to be around, even more horrible than a big coughing person, and it wasn't really paying off. So that was the problem for me. So analytics works as long as you know what you're focusing on. I'm so sorry, I'm coughing so much.
That's okay. That's no problem. It is what it is. And you're so right. I mean, I same sort of thing. You see the mess of analytics. You see all the data, all the statistics, all the different points. And I saw a video recently where they've gone to Google and they've changed some of the names of some of the things that you can record, just to make things a little bit more fun for people. And look, it's just a mess of numbers, figures, data, that unless you have someone who can help navigate through that, it's here we go. This is where I didn't go away. I didn't do any prep to turn my do not disturb on what I'm on. There you go. Rookie error for both of us. There you go. It's gone. So fun and games for those people listening to this, and it's one of the things I like to do. Is like it's raw, it's live. These things happen. So for those people, as you will know, when you're going live, all this kind of stuff happens.
So yeah, Google Analytics 4, I think that's been, people kind of had a handle on what they were doing in the old analytics, universal analytics, and then Google Analytics 4 came along, and maybe they weren't paying attention, and one day everything just changed. It didn't change a little bit. The whole system changed. Now it had to change because Google Analytics was going to get banned in some EU areas for not being GDPR compliant. So they had to change the system. Also, the old analytics wasn't really suitable for the way that websites work now. So the whole thing with the old analytics, it was managed by page views. So everything you looked at was a page view. Now you have like long scrolling websites where people can take lots of actions, and that wasn't really relevant to just page views. So there's a whole lot of reasons it changed, but that doesn't matter to people. All they know is when they look that they can't find the stuff they used to be able to.
Yeah, no, I can see from experience. I have experience working in IT projects and stuff like that. People get sort of you can see what happens. They get way too excited about trying to change things and do things, and forget that they're just going to confuse the customers at the other end unless they drip feed it, which probably would have been the thing. But then again, the challenge with drip feeding, as we know with some sounds, is it get lost in the change. People don't see all the advantages that happens when you drip feed stuff. Whereas a big bang, hurrah, here we go, can help people to think, oh yes, I need that. But it does frustrate the existing users who get all used to the way things work, and all of a sudden they drop a bomb on it. So.
Yeah, I think it's been a real nightmare for people. I think that's and what people do then is they just give up. And really, I actually think once you get used to Google Analytics 4, so I was an early adopter. I decided I wasn't going to look at the old analytics anymore. So the only way that I could find the data was by using Google Analytics 4. And I do think it's better once you get a handle on it. The problem is you have to like customize your experience. So you have to do a lot more in the setup, or you can hire someone like me to do the setup for you, in order to see the reports that you used to be able to just click on a sidebar and see. And that is frustrating for people, I know. But it does mean that you can completely customize your experience in Google Analytics and really get straight to the stuff that matters.
Indeed. When you know what matters, and am I right in the fact that you've got an offer coming up that's closing tomorrow? Is that right?
That's right. Yes, I have a group training program that I run twice a year called Analytics Ace. And what that is, it's not for somebody who just wants to set up their Google Analytics, the basic stuff. It's really about understanding what your analytics does for you. So it's a 7-week training program, and it's based on what I call the ACE framework, ACEE. And that's what helps you not just look at the wrong data. It helps you. A is for asking the right questions. So you're not just looking. Before you look, you need to work out what you want it to tell you. C is for collect. Once you know what you need to know, you can start finding the reports or customizing the reports that will tell you that. Then you've got E, which is to evaluate the data that you're seeing. And that includes things like cleaning it up and making sure there's no rogue data in there. And finally, E is to execute, to actually do something and see what difference it makes to your business.
Yeah, it sounds like a really useful way of a map of going around and using analytics, because oftentimes part of the confusion that you seem to sort of often get from thinking about analytics and thinking about doing that kind of marketing campaigns and marketing change and business changes is you often don't really think about what you're trying to do and what will give you the information so you can actually evaluate how you're doing what you're doing, and so very much starting with the beginning of thinking about what you want, what you're trying to find out from the analytics is you're right, the first step that people often don't do. They launch straight into collecting information, and then they get what I would imagine is information overload, and then
Absolutely
throw it away with the think, no, I can't do this, there's just too much stuff.
And it is, there's some really technical stuff involved in analytics, and people do get bogged down with that. And actually, you probably don't need half the stuff that's there. All you need is the stuff that's going to answer your question. So instead of trying to set up really complex tag manager conversion events, you can actually find an awful lot without having to do amazingly techy stuff. So I kind of try and keep it low tech. Of course, there is some stuff that we'll need to do, and depending what you want to measure, sometimes there is a little bit of tech involved, but I try and make it as accessible as possible. So that 7-week group training program I'm closing registration for it tomorrow at midnight, tomorrow being Thursday, the 17th of April, if you're watching on replay. And it's usually, we have good fun. It's a nice small group. We have like Q&A sessions so we can get into the tech, as well as the kind of the training programs.
Brilliant. And for those who are interested in watching this either live or before the closed cart, then there will be a link in the comments for wherever you find this, so you can explore it and and go and say hi and join in if needs be, if it suits you. Which it sounds to me like there's going to be a lot of really useful information for people who really want to take their analytics up to the next level, really. So yeah, so definitely. So thank you for that. And like I said, it is it can be a maze that people just get put off by looking at. And one of the things behind what we do here at the A Game and the Halftime Huddle is to recognize that there's a lot of stuff you do as a small business owner, and 9 times out of 10, like for instance, you talk about your journey. You talk about your journey starting off in the film industry, then through to corporate gifts, etc., and then digital marketing. Essentially, you did eventually go to digital marketing, but you probably didn't start the corporate gifts business thinking you wanted to be a marketer. You just wanted to sell corporate gifts and make some money doing that.
I just wanted to make money. I don't think I wanted to sell corporate gifts, which is the weird thing. I think I made a mistake that a lot of people make when they start a business, thinking that that's just like what running a business is like having a job. You set up a business, people buy from you, you have a wage, woohoo. Don't have a boss, woohoo. But of course, as we know, that's not how it works. I was quite naive at the time, thinking that that was a thing, but it brought me to where I am today. So I'm always thankful for it.
No, absolutely, and this is what we try and share with it in here, that oftentimes you start a business for one particular reason, and it's a mix often between you have something, a passion you'd love to do and you want to just do it and you love to share it with the world, through to I've got this thing I know I think I can make money for, and then bingo, you've got 50 million other kinds of things you need to do, and it's nowhere right, it's nowhere near like being a salaried employee of a business. Yeah, you've got the worst boss ever on your case when you're
so true.
Absolutely, and like I said, and this is what we try and share. We try and share some of the useful things that there are about that, because one of the things that you often find is you're trying to do all this stuff on yourself and you don't know that there are people out there who can help you with it. So having people that that you can come talk to about analytics, etc., for what we're talking about now, or through to copywriting, or to all these other kind of things that you you've got to do, or it's something that someone tells you have to do but you don't know where to go. So it's good to share that. Plus it's good to share that you're not the only ones trying to wear multiple hats and juggling lots of things together, and there are lots of different tips and tricks and stuff, and often we try and share that with here. So one of the things that I like to talk a little bit about is the sort of tools that people help. So because one of the things is a nightmare, much as there's a huge mass of data you can get from analytics, there's a huge mass of try this tool, try that tool, try the other tool. It's nice to hear from people who are using them, sort of what does it. And apart from the Google Analytics tool, which is obviously where you spend all your time, are there any other things that you find essential to how you get through your day, or even essential to how you use Google Analytics, that you'd love to share with us?
Yeah, there's a bunch of tools. So for Google Analytics, alongside a companion for Google Analytics that I'd highly recommend, is Microsoft Clarity, which is a free tool that you install, and it records user sessions on your website. Now, this is It's probably the scariest tool you're ever going to use, because you're going to start seeing how people are actually using your website. Now, if you do a lot of, now I have a web developer who's amazing, but I probably annoy him because I do a lot of work on my website myself. You know, I built the original, that was it. So when you see there's all these buttons or pages that you didn't even remember existed, and you see people using them, you're going, no, don't go there, don't do that. That is a terrifying thing. But it also means that you can quickly see how people are using your website and what you need to fix. And believe me, when you see people using your website, you will fix those things quickly. You will not put them on the long finger. So I do really enjoy that tool. From productivity point of view, I'm always trying to improve my productivity. So I use Trello for kind of like a weekly list of what needs to happen. It's got a lot better recently as well. You've got like, you can actually tick off items that you've done. I used to kind of like have a hack for that. One tool I couldn't live without is Toggle Track. And Toggle was essentially a tool for people who have clients to measure the amount of time it takes them to do client work. Now, I don't charge by the hour, so that's irrelevant. What it does is I always have it running. I have it running now saying I'm doing podcast guesting, because it keeps me on track. I used to work, as I said, very long hours, but if I had Toggle Track running on the time that I was actually spending doing productive work, you'd find that it was a small portion of the hours I was working, because actually the more hours you work, the less productive you become. You can actually probably fit 11 hours work into 7 hours work if you focus. And that's what it does for me. I know it's running. I'm not going to go and look at Facebook because that's going to take time off the amount of time I've worked today. So I have goals of how many hours proper work I want to do a day. And that keeps me on track for that. I honestly couldn't live without that one. I mean, I'm a reasonably productive person, but I always think there is more that I could do. I like routines until I don't like routines. So I guess it's like everyone. I'm very focused on my routine until one day I break it and then I need time out. So those tools, I honestly, Trello and Toggle Track, I have open in my browser all the time. Another analytics tool, just to go back to that I use, if you want to see if you've got Google Analytics installed on your website or somebody else's website. So this is really useful if you're working with clients. Or if you want to see if they've got Tag Manager installed on a website, because maybe you're a web developer and it's your job. You need to update their website. You want to make sure they've got all the tools installed. And sometimes that can be hard without reading a lot of code. There's a tool called Analytics Debugger, and it's a little duck. You'll see a little duck. It's a Chrome extension. And that means when you go into if you look at the back end of the website through like inspect, which is something you can do, if you're looking at a website, you can right click on the website and you'll see, if you're on Chrome, and it'll have this bit where you can inspect. You can go into your developer tools and it really outlines in a very clear way what's installed on the site. So I use that regularly as well. If I'm prepping for a client meeting, just go and see what they've got on their website and what's tracking. You can see it without it, but it's just a lot easier to see it.
Brilliant. I love those tools, and I'm a second one for Trello. I've been using Trello for a long time, and it's a wonderful tool. I've even convinced my wife to use it. She uses it for a number of different things, and one thing she does use it is for Christmas cards and Christmas lists. She has a list of people, and she moves them over. So it's a wonderful tool. Only thing I would say with Trello sometimes is its flexibility, is its downfall sometimes, because if you're not careful, you can end up with a mess. But Toggle Track, I'm definitely going to have a look at that. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, it is designed for you to measure client work, but I found it if I don't use it, I don't get work done. That's it.
No, and definitely it's one of the things, when you're working on your own. I am definitely guilty of it. Is going down a rabbit hole because you're trying something different, and like I said, having something like a tracking tool to understand the sort of stuff you have done and the tasks you've done. And again, analytics wise, you can then sort of see, has that thing that I've done over there, made a difference or moved things or helped me or anywhere, or is it just a distraction?
And even just the reality of how long tasks take, because you'll set
Yeah.
something, set something in your calendar that's going to take me an hour.
Oh yeah.
And it takes you 3 hours. This tells you, so next time you need to find time in your schedule, you can actually schedule the right amount of time.
Yes. Yeah. I'll definitely. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely going to have a look at Toggle Track because it is a. It sounds like it's a great tool, very useful tool, and I would imagine anybody who spends a certain amount of time, and most of us nowadays do spend a certain amount of time setting on a computer and stuff like that. It's a great way of doing that. Does it allow you to track time off the if a computer? Can you like put a little toggle to say I'm going to do X now. Say a customer meeting. You're going out to meet them. Can you do that and
You
put that
can
in?
access it on your phone, so
Oh,
you can
okay,
have it
brilliant.
taken away on your phone, and then it displays on your phone screen, so you can just stop when you finish. Or if you know you had, so yesterday I was out training all day. I didn't use Toggle wasn't running while I was out training, but I programmed in that time when I came back because that was a whole day from when I left the house to when I got back. That was all
Yeah,
work, so that was easy to do. So yes, the
brilliant.
app it ties up with what you've got going on your browser. So when you stop it in the app, it stops on your browser and vice versa.
Oh, superb, superb. There you go. They're definitely selling it again. We need to talk to them, see whether they've got an affiliate markup.
Well, I'm not paying yet. There is a paid service, but I use the free service. And I
Okay.
do meet, I think it's Jake from Toggle. I meet him every single year that I go to Social Media Marketing World and apologize that I'm not paying because it is. I would pay if they didn't have a free version. Don't tell him.
No,
I would. I
he's
don't
not.
think I could live without it.
He's not listening. Although you'll see a link once we put the link up. So I'm sorry, you'll be rambled. But that I mean, to be honest, same thing for Trello. I don't pay for Trello, and it's the same sort of thing. There's so much. I understand. Having worked in this industry, it is an expensive industry to work in, and there is a lot of money, time, and money and energy behind making some of these wonderful tools that people use. Um, I'm all for where I feel appropriate, pay for it. Um, but obviously, smaller businesses need to keep an eye on their finances, and there are so many wonderful free type tools or tools that are paid, but the free bit does more than enough
Yeah.
for you to use. So you sometimes sit in the background and think, I hope they aren't listening. Like exactly what you said. I hope they aren't listening to this and maybe put a little bit of price up. But
I do think there would be value on people giving a year trial. Normally you get a month.
yeah,
After a year, you are completely hooked into their free version. So if they started going, they wouldn't even have to charge a lot because,
no,
they're giving it free at the moment. If they said, well, you've had it for a year for free, you get it for a year for free, and then it's a 5 or a 10 or a month. I feel like we should be advising Toggle now. We should get onto them and say, this is what you need to do.
absolutely. No, you're so right. Once you've been hooked and addicted to the gateway drug of a year's Toggle access or whatever tool there is access, you're right. If it's ingrained in your business for that long, trying to get rid of it or disentangle it is going to be really difficult and worth the small monthly or yearly annual payment. And I notice annual payment. I often if the annual payment isn't a lot, I much rather pay the annual payment because essentially it's gone and I forget, and then year down the line I think, oh shit, I've got to pay that thing again.
Yeah.
But no, indeed, it's I'm gonna check out Troggle, and I would assume hopefully if people are listening have a good look at it too because it sounds like it's a really useful way to move the analytics from the website into what you do. Absolutely. So one of the other things that we try and talk about here is it's obviously the halftime huddle. It's about halfway through the week, the hump day, Wednesday, where things are going through. And as a small business owner, I need to stop calling them small businesses because a lot of these businesses aren't that small. They're small in terms of numbers of people involved in them, but they're big in terms of the impact that they create in the world. But business owners who are essentially working on their own or in small teams, keeping your focus during the week. I mean, imagine something like Toggle toggle track is it's a great little tool to help you keep
Yeah.
your focus, because you can see what you've done and what you still need to do and how long you've affected. But are there any tips and tricks? You talk about being productive. Are there any other things you use or you do to help you, apart from, see, Trello is another one I would imagine you'll mention, to keep you on track during the week?
Yeah, so I schedule a whole week in advance, and that's one of the things I have Trello for. I have my daily schedules on there. And I schedule it knowing that towards the end of the week, I'm less productive. Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesday, I'm very fast. I also have specific days for specific things. So I have client calls on specific days, and I have creating on specific days, and I have sales on specific days. It doesn't always, I don't necessarily stick to it in a very regimented way, but definitely for client calls, because you can have like a call in the middle of the day can totally throw you off. You'll be working away and it's Thursday and here's a client call, and then nobody's going to read a proposal they send to you or you send out on a Friday. So that was kind of a waste. And then you've broken your productivity because you've stopped to make that call, and then you have to make the notes, then you have to do the proposal. So having specific days for specific things. I tend to, it's not exactly a half day I take on a Friday, but I go to the gym on a Friday. I also, that's my learning day. So, we all sign up for too many courses. I don't think I've signed up for too many. I've got 3 on the go at the moment. 2 of them are analytics based and one of them's business based. And to be able to fit that, to actually do those courses, I need to assign time to it. So Friday, I start really looking forward to my Friday, where I can work on the courses that I'm doing, and I can go to the gym, and I can have, it's a bit of a treat day. It's still all work. It's still all important to my business, apart from the gym, but you've got to stay healthy. So that's always been a big thing for me. So it's a 5-day week, but I really look at it as a 4-day week. But I'm regimented. I have to be sitting at my desk at 8 a.m. And I'm supposed to finish work at 6 p.m. Sometimes that creeps into 7 p.m., but I won't allow it after that unless there's a really specific reason. No weekend work either. And I think if you stick by that rule, you will, and you start to appreciate, because that was one of the problems before. When I was doing everything that I had, there were no weekends, there was no time out. So once you start getting the benefits of those, once you start having friends again and having better relationships and having hobbies, you're very reluctant to let those go. So by saying no weekend work and no work after 7 p.m, I get really into the things that I do in that time, and that stops me working too much. So I am very regimented. I don't always complete my to-do list, but I do on a very regular basis, something that I would have only dreamed of before. So I think that's all been part of it, having that strong regimented schedule. And of course, like I said, I'm great at that for months on end, and then I just feel I need a break and everything goes out the window for a little while. But it always pulls me back in eventually.
Yeah, indeed, and I think from listening to what you say, one of the other things that I think probably helps you with that is the thing like the tracking tool, to understand what you're actually doing during that time that you're working, because oftentimes we get up and sit in front of the computer or in front of a list of things to do. We start working on tasks and away we go, and all of a sudden it's the end of the day. And if you're not careful, there's a lot of stuff in between. Not saying you haven't made progress, but you may not have done the things you said you wanted to do, and all of a sudden, like you say, you have to encroach into the weekend because your week didn't go as well as you'd planned.
And once you start doing that, your brain starts tricking you. It starts going, it doesn't matter that you started late today or that you went and did that instead, because you can work late. You can work at the weekend, and that's a nightmare.
No, indeed. And you're right. There are, having yourself a regimented sort of a routine helps. Because you talk about tricking your brain. Your brain likes to have routine, and likes to know what you're doing and when you're doing things. It likes to know. It likes to have closure, and being able to understand that this particular task or this particular thing as is this particular activity gives it a sense of calmness. Your stress level goes. And same goes for you, like you say, collecting all your client calls, say on the same day every week, sort of knows, your brain knows that that's when it's going to happen. You also don't get into the the um, the talk you talked about when you're saying, halfway through it cuts you and breaks your focus on one thing just because you've got a client call midday. um, you know um, uh, Multitasking is a myth, and it breaks your work. So having blocks of time doing the same sort of thing is a great way of doing it. So yeah, thank you for that. I would encourage and second that sort of emotion to try and put some structure into your day, and put some and have some boundaries, because the boundaries help to allow you. A lot of people do that same sort of thing. If you give people a deadline, they work harder. So having your deadline from 9 till till sort of 6 in a day gives you that deadline, that boundary. Um, so yeah, so we skip back to analytics, because it is one of those things that I think more people need to spend a bit more time thinking about it, because I know a lot of small businesses will well to be honest, some of the businesses you meet out there, they have a lovely idea of what they're trying to do, but they're often not quite as conscious about how they do what they're doing as they maybe should be. And analytics is a way to bring back some consciousness, because you're measuring what you're trying to do. Do you have any tips and tricks for people who, for instance, if they're new to analytics, what would you say was the first step people should take?
I think there's three, because I keep talking about the questions you need to ask. There's three big questions you should be asking your analytics. And the first one is, so it goes back to my own experience of having all that traffic on my website. Who is actually visiting your website, and are they the people that you want to visit your website, that are the people that buy from you? So I know every marketing talk starts with, who's your persona, who's your customer persona, your avatar, whatever they decide to call it. Who are you trying to attract? Now, Google Analytics can't tell us all of that, but there's a couple of tricks you can employ that's part of your digital strategy in general that can. So Google Analytics is quite good at telling you the location where people live. So that's your first thing. Are you attracting those people? So back in the day, most of the visitors coming to my website were from the US. They were and they were male, and they were in their 50s. We can't really get decent information on age group and gender anymore, but that's where they were. Now, this was a long time ago. So men in their 50s then weren't men in their 50s now, because I'm in my 50s now and I'm very digitally savvy, but back then they weren't necessarily. So I was attracting all those. They were coming to read content on my site, which was simple things on how to use social media. And that wasn't related particularly to what I sold. They weren't going to spend money on it. They were just, hobbyists looking at how things worked. So looking to see who's visiting your website, what pages they're looking at, and are they hanging around? Are they good quality visitors? That's the first thing you should focus on your analytics. Now, if you find you're not attracting the right people, like I wasn't, you can address that with content on your site. So you can actually call out your target market. We might not be able to say, oh, I'm trying to attract florists to my website, but you can with your content. You can say 10 tips for florists for using social media. I've just come up with that on the top of my head. But because it says florist very strongly, that piece of content, when you SEO it, when you put it out on your social media, when you run ads to it, is going to, guess what? It's going to attract florists. So all of a sudden you can see how many people are visiting their website. Where do they live? So are they living, which country are they living in? So is that a relevant audience? When they come, are they hanging around? Are they just looking at that page? Are they looking at multiple pages? Are they going through to your sales pages? And all of a sudden, you know whether your website works. Now, for me, this realization should have come a lot earlier. I'm quite a slow learner, obviously. But for me, I used to get 50,000 people every month coming to my website. Remember, that's what I was focusing on. Now I get about 500. But 500 of the right people now visit my website. So when people visit my website, they're interested in buying from me. So that means my conversion rate, the number of people who visit my website who turn into customers, has shot right up. So, that's good news. The second thing is, if you are using all the marketing channels that you possibly can, you want to make sure that they're working for you. And for social media, working for you doesn't necessarily mean people are clicking through and buying. That can happen on e-commerce because, they all have, like Facebook in particular, Instagram, TikTok, have very good shop to purchase. But very often you're attracting somebody who's just browsing through the internet and seen something they're vaguely interested in. So whether social media is working isn't just about whether they're coming from social media and buying. It can be, are they coming from social media and becoming a quality visitor? So again, are they hanging around? Are they looking at more than one page? Are they scrolling the pages they look to? How long are they spending on site? So all of those things can represent a quality visitor. And the nice thing, if they're doing all those things, that means they're going to remember you when they're ready to buy. So that's your two types of visitors. And you might just find that you might not be getting any traffic from social media. And then that's a whole other thing that you want to look at, because maybe that's not your goal. Maybe they're buying through direct message on Instagram, for example. Or maybe you're finding that the traffic you're getting from social media is low quality, or there's a particular site that you've got that is building more quality visitors than others. And that means you can start paring down the time that you're spending. If you're trying to do all those channels and trying to do them well, that's too much work. You can focus on your one or two channels that are really driving the best results for you. And it's really interesting when you analyze that, because I do a yearly analysis on my channels. And what I do is I have this metric I made up, which is key event rate. Key events are like conversions, essentially. Key event rate by follower. So I would have the number of followers I've got. I would have the number of key events that I've got from that channel. I would divide the key events by the followers and turn it into a percentage. And then I can see, actually, what's really weird is previously LinkedIn has really won across the board on that metric, but that's beginning to lose pace because I'm being a bit lazy on LinkedIn these days. Email marketing has always been strong for me, but I've actually seen, even though it's a tiny amount of traffic, I've seen Instagram seems to be growing a bit. And I don't spend time on Instagram. I just go and repurpose the content I'm creating for LinkedIn there. Now, it's a tiny amount of traffic, so I'm not about to give up LinkedIn for Instagram, but I do know that I could work a little bit harder on Instagram and see, does that conversion rate continue? I feel like I'm going on a tangent now, but that's for me, that's the second thing you can start. Obviously, you want to just start by looking at the traffic, but once you've got that, you can really dive down a lot further into it. And that's obviously something I cover in the trainings that I do, or if you get a setup, we talk about that as well.
Yeah, and actually, that's the sort of conversation I think is for me interesting, because having the stats is one thing, but knowing what to do with it and making changes and experiments and things to do to see whether the stats change is where the use of things like Google Analytics or even the Facebook Analytics or whatever analytics you do, ramps up from being just, okay, I've got figures. Now I've got figures and I know what to do with them.
Exactly. And I think that's the problem with analytics, isn't it? I think, and it goes back to what I was saying before. People get bogged down by all the technical stuff, and actually it's not the technical stuff. And you don't need to do half of the technical stuff, really. It's about knowing what you need to answer. And I find, I really just want to apply it back to the marketing so you can make a change, hopefully for the better. Test something out. Like, as I said, I'm not giving up LinkedIn 100%, but I am interested to see what would happen if I actually spent time designing a strategy around Instagram to see if it continued to be a really good conversion tool.
Yeah, and from what I gather from that, it's over a simple analytics measurement. I think you say the number of people turn up, and then the number of people, the number of things they do. Simple little sort of analytics that you probably don't need to spend a lot of time and energy building up, and you can still use that to to start to drive some kind of change that would drive an improvement in your interaction and get more bangs for your bucks and more bangs for your change. Because, like you say, especially if you're in a stage where you're trying to be reasonable about your time and your energy and the things you do to build your business. You do only have a limited time, even if you're the one who works extra hours, works weekends or whatever. You still have a limited amount of time you can devote to growing your business. So you may as well be as efficient as you can about it. Um,
The
and
third thing. So the
yeah,
third thing,
go on
I
the
came
third
up with
thing.
two, and I know people are gonna watch and go, she never
She
mentioned the
never
third
did the
thing.
third thing. That's me for
So
distracting her. So if people are going to moan, it's me. Go for it. Third thing.
So the third thing is analyzing the pages that people visit. So there's two ways you can do that in Google Analytics. There's your landing page, and this is in some ways the most important one. So you can see which landing pages are driving the most key events. Again, that's just the number of conversions, purchases, or inquiries that you're getting from a site, and that's really useful because maybe you've got 3 or 4 different services, and you should have a page for each of those services. If you don't, do it now, because it's going to be a lot better for you to do that, because you're going to get better quality sales in the end. So you might find that 3 of your services are converting really well and the other one isn't. And again, it's a percentage wise. You want to see the number of people who visit who actually convert, so that you're not comparing a page with 1,000 visitors to a page with 500 visitors. So then you can start going, well, obviously these are the most popular services, but why aren't people converting on this one? And then you can do an analysis on the pages that are converting and try and look what's different. Are you attracting a different sort of person? Is it really badly written? Is it laid out badly? Does it not work on mobile? So you can start looking at the ones that are working, the good quality pages, and improve the ones that aren't, so that you get a better rate on those. And then you can just look at your content in general. So which people, you should have, I know blogging is a pain, but you should have some sort of content that is useful to your audience on your pages. It doesn't have to be like random blog posts. It can just be stuff that's more in depth about your services. I know you're going to ask me about books, but I'm sure everyone's heard of Marcus Sheridan, and he has a book called They Ask You Answer, I think.
Yes.
Something along those lines. And he talks about the essential content that you should be creating, whether you want to call it a customer center or a blog. And that's stuff about pricing. You don't have to have exact prices, but you can say how stuff is priced. You can have stuff about who's this for, who's it not for. All that sort of content really backs up your sales content. So if you have that, great. If you don't, create it. And then you can start looking how many people are looking there. Are people who look at those pages more likely to convert into customers? And that can really help you as well.
Indeed, and you're right, and it is really useful to have a lot of these I would call FAQ type stuff out on your website, because essentially it saves that conversation in your sales. A lot of people, I know someone was talking to me recently about their sales calls, and saying that that generally when they're going on a sales call, if they've got a lot of content on their site, then essentially they can have a sales conversation that doesn't spend all their time trying to explain what they do and why they do it, because it's there on their
Yeah,
site. So
absolutely.
having a lot of that stuff makes your sales conversations and your conversations with potential customers a lot more easier, a lot less technical, a lot more softer, a lot less driving them to explain why you're doing your benefits and stuff. You can have a proper conversation with these people, because at some level, if they have a question about what you do and why you do it, you can send them to your website, or you can talk to them through that way of doing it. You don't have to have that conversation to add to the level of confusion when you're having a sales conversation. So even without the analytics, which it sounds like that's the next level on top. I would encourage everybody to have that kind of as much information about how what you do and why you do what you do, and what it costs and what's involved in it and that kind of stuff, so people don't have to ask that question when they talk to you.
Absolutely.
And then knowing that, like I said, which is like doing that on steroids, and then understanding where they go when they find that information is, like I said, the next level of voodoo ninja sort of working about, sort of trying to get that stuff. Because like I said, if you know people are more intrigued I spend a lot of time going into the cost part of your how-tos, then I presume you can use that to identify where the challenge is and what it is that's intriguing them about the cost.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so powerful in so many ways. And that's why I feel people do just go and like look at all the YouTube videos or all the mad techie stuff you can do without thinking about why they're doing it in the first place. So, and I think that's why a lot of people are like, I don't want to do analytics. And that's my job to show them, actually, you really do. It's because it's so cool.
No, no, absolutely, absolutely. And while you could, I can well believe that people sometimes would listen to some of this and think, oh my goodness, there's lots of information they need to do. But I would imagine one of the things you probably tell them in the same sort of thing is start small. Don't necessarily go and create a massive analytics campaign based upon think about that, start from the what questions do you want answered, the A bit part of your
Yeah.
AC. Is it ACEE? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
ACEE. So I'm just calling it ACE. I was going, is it ACE E? Is it when I started, I was going, is it ACE E? Is it ACE? Is it ACE? But yeah, I'm just calling it ACE, and you have to remember it's got two E's.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. But yeah, start from the beginning. Start what is it you want to know, and and start with one thing. I would imagine
Yeah.
if there is one thing, and there we go. We're talking about this. This is another thing. What do you think the one thing that would be the most important thing that people would need to know if they had to? I like your idea of number of customers and number of key events.
I mean,
Is
sometimes it's just the website isn't converting. So it's a really big question. Why is the website not converting? And there are a whole bunch of people out there, and I can introduce you to some who do what we call conversion rate optimization. Now that's like really getting deeper into the sort of thing I've been talking about, but they're more skilled at that's their job. Whereas my job is analytics with that kind of on the top. Their job is CRO with analytics kind of underneath. So we complement each other. But that's a really big question. You can't just go into Google Analytics and find the data for that. So things that you can do is that tool I mentioned earlier, Microsoft Clarity. One of the things I've been doing at the moment, because I've been launching the group training program, is looking at all the people who are on the landing page and how they're using it. Are they watching a video there? Because if they're not watching a video there, what's the point of having the video there?
Yeah.
Are they, where are they scrolling? Where do they stop scrolling? What is it? They're not clicking. Why are they not clicking? Why are you not clicking to buy? All those things can go through your head. So that's really useful. I would highly recommend getting that on your website. It's free, so there's no reason to not get that. So it is really, that could be your big question. So it is breaking it down, and that kind of goes into some of the things I did already. It might not be converting because you're not attracting the right people. It might not be converting because people don't know what to do when they arrive on your homepage. To you, it's really obvious, but one of the tricks a lot of people use is to have like a brightly colored, contrasting color button that leads people to do what they want to do, next. So like mapping out the process of what you think people should do when they visit your website, and then looking at what they actually do, which you can do in Clarity. You can also do using a Path Explorer report in Google Analytics. That can often be quite different. And that's something I've worked on my own website. I started with the path exploration going, this is what I want them to do. Are they doing it? And started making changes to my website to ensure more people did. And guess what? It's all about what you focus on. I'm not focusing on traffic anymore. Now I'm focusing on getting people to buy from me and looking at the process they're taking. More people are taking the process that I want them to. And by looking at that and reviewing that regularly, I can see that, a lot of people are going to my blog directly from the homepage, which is weird to me. I'm like, why are they doing that? So then I need to start going, well, if they're going to, should I remove the blog? Because that's not the blog itself, but the blog menu, or make it less obvious, because I don't want them to go there. I want them to come to the blog and go to other things, not the other way around. A lot of people are going to the about page, which is one of the things I know a lot of web developers are saying, oh, you don't need an about page, or they hide it in the footer. No, actually, you really need an about page, because people, particularly now when the whole trend is towards authenticity and getting to know people, that kind of like pushback against AI, that they want to know it's real. They want to know they need to trust people. Very often when I look at people's website, that's the second most visited page on their site from their homepage, or the first most visited page on their site from the homepage. So that's the case for me as well. So obviously I need to improve my about page, although a lot more people are going from my about page into my services as well. But I need to make sure that that's delivering for them. So that sort of thing I would explore what people are doing when they actually arrive. You don't have to start with your homepage either. You can start with any page on your site and look at the path that people take and optimize for it.
Brilliant. It sounds like I said. It sounds as if you take it piece by piece, bit by bit. You take away some of the complexity, and I think that's
Yeah,
from
the
what I'm
big
hearing from
question
you.
is never, you can't just go in and go, why aren't I converting? That's not going to happen. Well, maybe AI in the future will be able to do that for us. But at the moment, you do need to get the small questions that lead towards the big question.
Yeah, so brilliant. And you've sort of telegraphed a little bit the book bit at the end, which is always my favourite part of this conversation. And I snuck it in primarily because I like that I'm collecting books, and I am at some stage collecting all the books that people recommend. So I'm looking to see see where they come
Well, I
through on
have
that.
more.
And I put in the because you know when you came on, I send you a little bit of a list, and one of the things is about a book. It doesn't have to be one. I don't want a library full of books, but just one book. And the twist is, I don't know whether you saw the twist is, rather than because like you say you have more, so I can tell you read a lot of books. Often the book you're reading at the moment is either your best or your worst book, and and that's one of the things that I wanted to get away from was what not what's your latest book you're reading, but what is one book that stand the test of time, and what is one book that is prevalent in your library that you know is good enough that you want to give it to other people to read, or you will recommend them to go and read because it's a book that you know has made a difference to you and your life and your business. So with that in mind, do you have that book in mind so you can share it with us? Or
Yes. So
books?
I mentioned Marcus Sheridan's book, but there's one book that takes that a step further. So that's Lindsay Cambridge and Martin Huntbatch, and I want to say I'm saying his name wrong, have written a book called Content Fortress. And it's based on that same process that Marcus Sheridan talks about. But it's really good. Like I have like about 200 bookmarks in it with a big to-do list that I need to complete. Like I haven't, but I need to complete because it makes so much sense, the content you need to create. And it really tells you how to create it, what it should be, and why that's going to attract the right people to your website. And I think it's because I've had that background in like doing all the different digital marketing. Like I know kind of how it all works, that I really love, like combining your content with your Google Analytics to get the results that you need. So I highly recommend that one. That's my number one. And the second one is called, and I've just had, Content Chemistry. I just had a moment, by Andy Crestodina. And that's really, again, I suppose it's about content, but it breaks down an ideal website. It's got lots of like diagrams of what your sales page should look like, what this should look like, what to include on your about page. So I have that full of bookmarks as well, and they're both always really close to me for reference. So they're my top two books I'd recommend.
Brilliant. And I will second your referral for the Content Fortress. It's another great book that I have. Admittedly, I have it on Kindle. There are the way I often start with books is a Kindle, and then if it's a brilliant book, I'll get a hard copy, and that one is definitely on my list to get a hard copy of. It's the same sort of thing because it's
Because you do need to bookmark it, and bookmarking on
absolutely
Kindle,
isn't the
it
same.
never works. I mean,
No,
you'd think it would be better, but it's not. You need to
no.
stick the sticky notes in it.
No, indeed,
Yeah.
no. I agree. I agree with you. There is. I did try and experiment with bookmarking in Kindle, and you're right. It just isn't the same, especially when it gets messed up with some of the other bookmarks that other people have put in. I don't care what other people have put in the bookmarks. I want to know what bookmarks I've put in. So
Yeah,
it gets a bit
exactly.
confusing. But you're right. Like I said, to be honest, I often start from audio to Kindle to hard copy, and this is one definitely I think I need a hard copy from. I will definitely check up the other one as well, the Content Chemistry. Um, so yeah, thank you for that. I like I said, I am collecting a wish list of all kinds of books that there should be, and like I said, Content Chemistry is now on my wish list. For those people who are listening, I will put links to these books in the comments somewhere, so you can go and hunt them down and have a look at them yourself. Um, Thank you very much, Time. Your cough seems to have calmed down a little bit,
I
which is
know.
brilliant.
I'm so glad, because at the beginning I was going, we're not going to be able to keep going. So
we
anyone
managed to
that's
we managed
watching
to
the
get through,
beginning,
which is brilliant. I'm yeah, there you go. See, it's a key. Once I start
yeah.
talking about coughing, it comes back again. It's been lovely to talk to a fellow, and we have a comment. I just wanted to put this up from someone who loves the name Perfect Sale Name. Yeah, there you go. So, but in the meantime, it's been lovely chatting to you. Thank you very much. I know I am going to have a little bit of look more on my website. I have been looking at my analytics since I knew we were going to have a talk. It's been one of those things where I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I need to have a conscious idea of what I'm trying to do with it. And you've definitely encouraged me to go and start making simple questions and start and make simple changes. So thank you very much for that. For those people who want to know a little bit more about how to contact you and to find out more about you, including if you're listening to this live or a day or so, within 24 hours of live, then the link will be for the course. But where else can they find you?
Yes, so LinkedIn is, as I mentioned earlier, it's the best place to find me on LinkedIn. So if you are connecting me with it, I know you can't really send many messages now, but once we've connected, you can tell me that you saw me here. That would be great. And then my website in general is spiderworking.com. So they're the two top places to find me. I can't guarantee that I'll still be looking at Instagram, so just, LinkedIn, and that's where we are. So it's easy to find me, right? And my website, spiderworking.com.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for this. It's been lovely talking to you. I am sure that we'll find some time to chat again, and I'd love to bring you on again. But in the meantime, I thank you very much, and we will speak to you again. So in the meantime, for those people, I'd like to say hi. Thank you for listening. Like I said, all the comments and the books and the links that will be in the comments below, wherever you find this. In the meantime, I'd love to hear from you about what you're doing with your analytics. I'd love to hear how you're getting on with your analytics and what it is that you do with it and how you're finding it. So, but in the meantime, have a great week, and may the second half be the best half.